We still have a few people to join us. I think it's a busy Saturday in the city. Today the Prime Minister is in town adding to the traffic chaos. So we did expect a sparser audience than we normally get, but we'll continue with our very, very beautiful tradition of starting on time and finishing on time. So we'll stay with that. This conversation is part of the Bliss Catcher series. For those of you who are new, I see a couple of new faces. There was a young gentleman who wanted to know the story behind the Bliss Catchers, so I'll use this opportunity to introduce the program. The Bliss Catchers is a celebration of all those people who have had the courage to go out and do what they love doing in life. They're not trapped in the rat race, and they've found a way to live a more meaningful and happy life. It is inspired by Joseph Campbell, the American mythologist and author, Joseph Campbell. It's inspired by his philosophy, who said, follow your bliss, and no matter what, doors will open for you. Many of us live in fear that if we follow what we believe in doing, if we go after doing what we love doing, then something terrible will happen to us, because we will not get the income that we want, we will not be able to pay our bills, and we will be able to live a mediocre life financially, economically. But the trade-off is that in fearing that living that mediocre life, we are actually giving up the opportunity to live a full life doing what we love doing. And so this series brings into conversation people like Aparna and Rajesh, who are my guests this evening, who have gone on to do what they believe in doing, what they love doing. And we'll explore those stories in a little bit. But let me also tell you why I, AVIS and Vani, my wife, why we curate this series. For us, inspiring people to be happy is our life's purpose. This is what wakes us up every morning and encourages us to go do what we believe in doing ourselves, which is telling people that we have one life, let's live it happily. We've been through a very difficult time in our life in the last decade. We're going through a bankruptcy, we're dealing with a bankruptcy, but this phase, this completely dark phase in our life, opened us to the idea of happiness as being about non-worrying, non-frustrated, and non-suffering. Living a life where you're not trapped in your worries. Living a life when you're not frustrated if things don't add up and you're not able to do things. And living a life without asking why things are going wrong in my life. This is our idea of happiness. And this is why we come out and we do this program, not just this program, we curate 4 programs across the city of Chennai. And this is why I also wrote my book, Fall Like a Rose Petal. I deliver talks, I write a blog. You can follow me on my app called AVIS Viswanathan. You can download it on Google Play or on the App Store, and follow my blogs where I share life lessons on how we both have learned to be happy. So for us, doing this program, whether we have an audience of 100 people or whether we have an audience of 20 people, doesn't really make a difference. For us, doing this program is part of a larger purpose in our life. It gives us meaning in a very dark time in our life. And this program is particularly possible every month on the last Saturday because of a very dedicated partner we have, which is the Odyssey Bookstore. The Odyssey Bookstore has supported us in the last 4 years. This is the 4th season of the program, and we've been able to put this program on the last, put together this program on the last Saturday of every month, without fail for the last 4 years. And that's remarkable only because of the support we have received from Odyssey. So on behalf of all of you, I'd like to thank Odyssey for their support. Parandavan over there and his team do an amazing job with Ashwin and his team helping us also. So that's the story of the Bliss Catchers. you know, my favorite poet, many of those who are regular to the show know that I'm a Rumi fan, and as I introduce my guests, I'd like to take a minute to recall what Rumi said. Rumi said that Jalaluddin Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet, said that everyone has been created for a particular work. And the desire for that work has been put in every part. Now, as long as we follow that path of going on to do what we love doing, we live a free, full life. And when we don't do it, then we live a very substandard, sometimes unhappy, unfulfilled, incomplete life. My guests today, both Rajesh and Aparna, are people who have gone out there and moved forward with what they believe in doing, what they love doing. They've done what Joseph Campbell tells very beautifully. They have gone into the cave that everyone fears to get into. Campbell said that it is the cave that you fear to enter that holds the treasure that you seek. நீங்க எந்த இதுக்குள்ள போக வேண்டாம்னு நினைக்கிறீங்களோ, எந்த பாதையில நீங்க நடக்க வேண்டாம்னு நினைக்கிறீங்களோ, அந்த பாதையில தான் நீங்க தேடிட்டு இருக்கிற பொக்கிஷம் இருக்கு. அந்த பாதையை விட்டுட்டு நீங்க வேற பாதையில போய் தேடிட்டு இருக்கீங்க. இந்த பாதைக்கு வாங்கன்னு சொல்றாரு கேம்பல். And that is what Rajesh and Aparna have done. Let me introduce the two of them and then invite them to be in conversation with me today. The two of them are remarkable in their own ways. Aparna, we know her for the last 5+ years. My daughter, Anchal, Vani and my daughter Anchal, was part of her dance theatre group called High Kicks. And that's how we know Aparna personally. But we have known of Aparna for a little over 7-8 years. And I've always been amazed by this young lady. Her belief in what she does is 150%. And she's driven to the point of being not just following her bliss, but being obsessed with her bliss. And that's what makes her a special guest this evening. She has been a choreographer, dancer, performer, actor, and teacher for over 2 decades now. And much of her work has been through, at least to me, visible through beautiful productions she's put together as part of High Kicks, her dance theatre group. I remember at least a couple of them, or more than a couple of them. I remember Leap into Life. That was so fantastic. I loved The Seeker, and I loved the I can't call it a remake, but an inspired version of The Great Gatsby, right? Called The Green Light. The Great Gatsby, the famous book by Scott Fitzgerald, and later made into a beautiful movie by Baz Luhrmann. And that was adapted into a dance theatre version, and I really loved it, The Green Light. And I have been following all her work and have always been wanting to have her as part of Bliss Catchers. But my moment of, let me say, decision making came, I think, around last April or May. Anchal, our daughter, was moving out of High Kicks. She wanted to pursue her master's in the US, and so she was moving out of High Kicks. But yet, we went to the launch of Aparna's Performing Arts Institute called Madras Dance Arts, and that's when it hit me that here's somebody who's actually brought to life what she believes in. It wasn't just love for an art form, but it was to put up a center which would promote, teach, and champion the cause of free expression in the performing arts space. This is my reading. Okay? This is not what I read up anywhere, this is how I read it that day. I came back and I told Vani, I think she qualifies to be a Bliss Catcher. And of course, then we read up on you, and then finally, because Bliss Catchers is a forward curated program, it's curated well in advance. We had to talk to her last September to plan for this February meeting. So that brings Aparna onto our stage. Thank you, Aparna, for being with us. That's my brief introduction. She's a very celebrated dancer. She's won many awards, and she's also certified from the Broadway Dance Center in New York as a performer. So that is a very distinguished certification that she has from in her CV. So thank you, Aparna, for joining us this evening. Thank you. Thank you. Rajesh and we have an interesting thing in common. What Rajesh discovered in life, I took 40 years to discover, and which is that the most important thing in life is to be happy. Nothing else really matters. He discovered it young, I discovered it in my middle age. And that's what attracted me to him when I read about him first in Deccan Chronicle about 2 years ago. That was around the time that he was quitting the rat race, he was quitting his bank job, and he was deciding to do something of his own. So already on the Mudal Deccan Chronicle story I tucked it away. I have a little board on Pinterest where I tuck away all interesting stories that I read about potential Bliss Catchers, potential guests for any of our shows, and Rajesh's story went there. And then a good friend, Akila Kannadasan in Hindu, followed up with another story last year on Rajesh and his journey. And that's when I reached out to Akila and got Rajesh's number. Vani and I normally meet our guests for coffee, sit down and understand their journey. And what came across about Rajesh was something very, very powerful. Here's a man who in his early 30s has absolute clarity that I don't want to do many things that other people are doing. What I want to do in my life is to be happy, enjoying the process of living, and not struggling to make a living and to pay bills. He had that clarity. And not only he had the clarity மாத்திரம் இருந்தா போதுமா, அதுக்கு ஒரு துணிச்சல் வேணுங்க, அந்த தைரியம் வேணும். அந்த வேலையை விடுறதுக்கு ஒரு பேங்க்ல 12 வருஷம் வேலை செஞ்சு நல்ல கம்ஃபர்டபுள் பொசிஷன்ல இருக்கும்போது அந்த வேலையை விடணும் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு துணிச்சல் வரும். அந்த துணிச்சல் எங்கேருந்து வருதுன்னு தான் இந்த கேள்வி, என்னுடைய மெயின் கேள்வி. அது எப்படி அந்த ஜேர்னி இவால்வ் ஆச்சுங்கிறது தான் நம்ம இன்னைக்கு எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ண போறோம். So that's Rajesh's background. He runs his own small enterprise today called Tamilan Curries, which is based in Tambaram, where he makes homemade curries and distributes it to his customers. And then he does something remarkable. He has a dairy with 9 cows, right, in his backyard. So he does something which is very close to nature in a very, very urban setting. In the heart of Chennai, he does this. So I'm again curious to ask how he balances all this, how he makes all this happen. So thank you, Rajesh, for accepting our invitation and being here. Very, very delighted to have you both on the show. Thank you. Please join me here, both of you. Thank you. For those of you who joined a little late, my name is AVIS, and I'm seeing a lot of new faces, and that's very exciting. Then the Bliss Catcher message reaches a lot more people. Thank you so much for joining us. The way we structure the show is that I'll be in conversation with these two beautiful people for about 50 minutes till about 8:05, 8:10, and then we will open the floor for questions with the audience. There will be an audience interaction, and we will wrap it up with what we call a quiz segment. Actually, there are 2 quiz segments. Let me introduce you to both the quiz segments. In one segment, which will be midway around 7:40, we will be asking you questions about each of them. Whoever answers the question gets this beautiful Bliss Catcher mug that Odyssey has put together. Okay, it's a beautiful mug. Your morning tea or coffee tastes very different when you drink it in the Bliss Catcher mug. So go for those quiz questions. And we also have a quiz segment at the end of the show where my guests will be asking you questions and you get a chance to win mugs again. So totally there are 4 questions and 4 mugs to be won today. So stay with us all the way through. Okay, that's the format of the conversation. We're all set. So can we get started? You're feeling good, both of you? Comfortable in those bar stools? Okay. I take a little time to settle in.
As comfortable as you can get.
Yes, I know. It's got a small base, so and it keeps revolving.
I have short legs, so I hate that.
Okay, so we're all set. Let's get into the conversation. The mics are here. Would you like to pick them up? Is that required? Yeah, because they need it for the video recording. This will also go on to YouTube, so by early next week. So
larger platform to embarrass ourselves on.
No, I think this is going to be a very fantastic conversation because your stories are so fantastic. So let me start with you, Aparna. Aparna, there are 2 qualities in you that I see. So I'll go one by one. One is this obsession with the performance space, right? I call it obsession. It's a very carefully chosen word. There are people who do dance or performances for a hobby. There are people who do it as a profession. There are people who do it as sheer art form. But I think obsession is about loving it more than yourself. This is what I see in you. The way you have led high kicks, the way you're leading Madras Dance Arts now. So I want you to talk a little bit about your early influences. When did you discover you had it in you to be a dancer? And were there any inspirations early on that changed your thinking about this entire space?
Okay, wow. I think for me, I've always liked being a storyteller. As far back as I can remember, maybe 5, 6. From that time, I've liked elaborating my day and what happened in the day at home and adding a lot of flavor to it, so to speak. And I know that it was something that really entertained my family, my grandparents. My mom was also doing a evening course at that time, being a single parent. So my grandparents took care of us a lot, and I know that it really entertained them. And I was always very athletic and gymnastic, and I liked moving. As you can see, I can't speak without moving my hands and my head. And but I think how this whole inspiration came about was, it's actually not a very, it was not a positive start though. I remember that we had a lot of little plays and dances in school, and even though my mother was my class teacher in 3rd grade, I was not like it, we had a lot of events where I would always get picked to be in the dances. And I think the first dance that I did, I remember I was in UKG, and it was for that Mile Sur Meera Tumhara, and I was the Kannadika tribe. I remember that so well because there's a picture from that. But I was always picked, I think, to do a lot of the witch roles or the evil roles or the boy or the bad person. And I remember when we were in 2nd grade, I think there was a play of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs that happened in our old school, and I really wanted to be Snow White. And of course, they wouldn't pick me. And it was a very evident thing for me that, okay, I'm not being picked because of my skin color or how I look. And for me, I think at some point that day, it stuck in my head that I'm going to show you guys. I think it started from there. Wow. But yeah, I started thinking about it, and that's...
You must have been, what, 7, 8, 9?
6, 7, yeah. And it started from there, but I never really thought about why I was so obsessed. And I have always loved music. My family is a very musically oriented family. So there was always a lot of different kinds of music. A lot of old Hindi songs, a lot melodic old Tamil songs as well, and bhajans and all of that. So I would always keep moving to all of these things, and I would shut myself in the room and dance, and that's kind of how it, I guess you could say that was my early influence, and then after that, watching a lot of performances, going, that helped to kind of fortify the belief that I have to be up on that stage.
Fantastic. So early on. A related question is, typically in a South Indian context, in the kind of families that we grow up in, there is a conventional way of looking at performing arts, which is Carnatic music kathuko, Bharatanatyam kathuko, you know. But you have carved out a niche for yourself, and you've all along been on the Western side, and you have, you know, great understanding and capability in jazz, ballet, Latin, contemporary, and you have also evolved now your own global dance fusion, you know, theme, right? Form of dance. So again, go back to the early stage and say why the person in you didn't look at the Bharatanatyam form, or did you do it at all?
It's a very interesting story. This is a question that my mother asks, and then she's like, okay, I'm not going to ask you this question again. I did do Carnatic music 6 years. My sister did violin, and I had to do Bharatanatyam, sung at Tirupati Devasthanam and all that. Still love singing, just need to kind of get back to voice training. But I remember when I was in 6th standard, incidentally, one of your Bliss CatchersTM, Dr. Ambika, was teaching in school, and they had after-school Bharatanatyam classes, and I stood on one leg. I said, I have to go for these classes. In fact, the first class I went without my mother's knowledge. I came home and I got a dose for it. She said, you're doing one thing, focus on that. It was a very old school, traditional way of looking at it. She said, you're doing one thing, do it properly. Like, nobody in my family at that point was into dance. Obviously, later on she told me that my dad was the only person. He passed away when I was very young. So she told me that he was somebody who was, you know, into dancing, so I probably got it from him. But nobody else dances. So she was like, and you just do, you know, classical music for now. And many years later, like not many years, maybe when I was 15 is when I actually got into the Western stream and I joined a dance school. And she saw me performing a fusion piece on stage, and she said, oh, maybe I should have sent you for Bharatanatyam. Now that you have kind of decided this is where you're going, and I was like, kind of a thing, you know. But
so that's how it didn't happen.
That's how it didn't happen. I still am. I still love Kathak very much, and if I do have the time, hopefully once my business kind of settles a little bit more, I would go back to it.
You'll go back to learning it?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I'm going to come back to your story, but I'm going to go to Rajesh and his story. Rajesh, on the story, what I want to start with is again your early influences. See, something like understanding life in a goal line, where to go reach in life, what to look forward to in life. These things, many people are still confused. As I told you, in the 35th year, I was working in the so in the young age, what kind of early influences did you have as a child? As a what was the kind of family value system? As a child? And child goals were please use the mic for the recording.
Specific incident generally ஒரு கேள்வி எல்லாத்துலேயும் கேட்டுகிட்டே இருக்கணும். ஏன் யார் சொல்கிறதையும் முழுசாக கேள்வி கேட்காம ஏற்றுக்காத ஒரு பழக்கம். ஸோ யார்கிட்டனாலும் கேள்வி ஏன் இது பண்ணணும், ஏன் இதை செய்யணும், எதனால் ஸோ அந்த ஒரு பேக்கப் மைண்ட் அங்கே இருந்துகிட்டே இருந்ததுனால ஸோ எந்த ஒரு விஷயத்தையுமே ஆராய்ச்சி பார்க்கணும்னு ஒரு சரியா தப்பா ஏன் செய்யணும், மற்றவங்களும் எதுவுமே செஞ்சது எப்பயுமே எனக்காக என்ன செய்ய முடியும், இல்லை என் பாயிண்ட்டில் கரெக்டாக இருக்குது அந்த பாயிண்ட் அது மட்டும் தான் செய்யணும். ஏர்லி இன்ஃபர்மேஷன் கேட்டிங்கன்னா ஸ்பெசிஃபிக்காக சொல்லணும்னா அப்பா ஒரு கம்யூனிஸ்ட். ஸோ அவரோட பார்வை கொஞ்சம் நம்மகிட்ட அப்படியே உண்டு. அது இல்லாமல் அவர் வே ஆஃப் லைஃப் அவர் கடமை இருந்தாங்க, அவருக்குள்ளே இருக்கிறத வச்சு வாழ்வாங்க. மேன் செல்ஃப் சாட்டிஸ்ஃபை எப்பவுமே அவருக்கு என்ன போதுமோ அது. சின்ன வயசுலேருந்து ஒரு அந்த சொல்லி கொடுத்து வளர்ந்துருக்காங்க. எப்படின்னா ஒரு இடத்துக்கு போகிறோம்னா ஒரு நார்மல் மிடில் கிளாஸ் அப்பயே சொல்ல வரப்பா இது கோல் ஸ்பாட் இருக்கும், அந்த வயசுல கோல் ஸ்பாட் இருக்கும், ஒரு பசங்க இருக்கும். நான் கோல் ஸ்பாட் கேட்டேன்னா வேலை சொல்லி இதுன்னு சொல்லுவார். அப்போ லெட் மீ பிக் எனி ஒன் ஆஃப்.
So you have the freedom of choice, but after the education.
Yeah, but still you will give a clear idea of what is what. So அதனாலே எப்பயுமே அந்த ஒரு முடிவுகள் எப்பயுமே எடுக்கணுன்ற தைரியம் இருக்குது. அதுதான் இது ஸ்பெசிஃபிகேஷன் கிடையாது. எப்பவுமே ஒரு எண்ணம் உண்டு, நம்ம மட்டும் தனியார் கிடையாது. இட் இஸ் ஆல் அபவுட் சொசைட்டி. வி ஆல் நோ அண்ட் டுகெதர் வி லிவ் as a society and everybody have the duty or something to give back to society. ஸோ அதனால என்னை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் சின்ன வயசுலேருந்து இருந்திருக்கான். நாட் எனி ஸ்பெசிஃபிக் ரீசன் கிடையாது. மை லாட் ஆஃப் திஸ்.
What about when you entered teenage? There are chances that there might have been other influences in terms of helping you look at life very differently, right? For teenage இருக்கும்போது பொதுவாக வர்றது ஒரு கிரிக்கெட்டர் ஆகணும், ஒரு ஆக்டர் ஆகணும், ஆர் எனக்கு இருந்தது ரொம்ப பேர் சம்பாதிக்கணும், புகழ் சம்பாதிக்கணும், பணம் சம்பாதிக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிற ஆசையெல்லாம் இருக்குது. உங்களுடைய அந்த ஸ்டேஜில் what was the kind of influences playing on in your life?
எல்லாருக்கும் மாதிரி தான். ஒவ்வொரு வருஷமும் ஒன்று இருப்பாங்க.
ஓகே.
எப்பவுமே ஒரு டக்குனு கிரிக்கெட் இருக்கும், டக்கு கிரிக்கெட் மொபைலில் அப்புறம் அது மாதிரி இருக்கும். பட் நோ ஸ்பெசிஃபிக். அந்த வெரி ஆவரேஜ். அதுதான் எப்பயுமே இதில் எக்ஸல் ஆகும், அதில் எக்ஸல் ஆகணும் கிடையாது. இப்போ படத்தை சொல்லுவாங்கல்ல, இருக்கிறது தெரியாமல் இருந்துட்டு போவோம் அப்படின்னு. அது மாதிரி ஒரு கேரக்டர் தான். பட் அதான் அது ஒரு தெளிவு இருக்கும். நம்ம கன்சர்வேட்டிவான பையன். அது மட்டும் தெரியும். எனக்கு என்ன வரும்னு தெரியுதோட எனக்கு என்ன வராதுன்னு தெரியும். ஸோ அதில் நான் ரொம்ப தெளிவாக இருக்கேன். இது எனக்கு வராது, அதே மாதிரி எனக்கு வரும்ன்ற விஷயத்தை நான் யாருக்கும் கொடுக்க மாட்டேன். ஸோ அது மாதிரி தான். நீ சொன்ன மாதிரி இப்போ ஒரு நார்மல் டீனேஜ் பாய் என்ன பண்ணுவான், எல்லாத்தையும் பார்த்து ஆசைப்படுவான், தெரிஞ்சு சீரியஸாக எடுத்துக்க மாட்டான். ஸோ அதே மாதிரி கேரக்டர் தான். அப்போ அடிப்பு கூட சேர்த்து எல்லாத்தையுமே எப்பயுமே ஐ கேன் கீப் மை ஹெட் அவுட் ஆஃப் வாட்டர். அதுதான் என்னோட ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டி. சர்வை பண்ணிவிடுவேன் எல்லாத்தையும். நெவர் பீன் குட் ஸ்மார்ட் ஆர் எக்ஸல் சர்வை தான்.
So it was a normal childhood raised with some clear value systems which came more from experiences of the way your father spoke to you and spoke at home, and பெரிய ஒரு bombastic goal or direction of the எதுவும் கிடையாது. Right? You were
ஒன்று சொல்லணும்னா அப்பா எப்படி ஒரு பக்கம் இந்த மாதிரி, அம்மா ஒரு மாதிரி ஒரு பக்கம். அப்பா ரொம்ப கன்சர்வேட்டிவ், அம்மா தைரியம், நீங்கள் போய் டேரக்டாக பேசுவோம் எதுவும் வந்தாலும் அது மாதிரி. ஸோ அவங்க 2 பேருமே சொல்லும்போது என்னன்னா, ஒரு பக்கம் நம்மளுக்கு அந்த கன்சர்வேட்டிவ் பார்ட்ஸ் இருந்தாலும் யாரை பற்றியும் பயப்படுறது கிடையாது. பயந்ததோ இல்லை ஒரு 4 பேர் இருக்காங்கன்னா போய் பேசணுமோ இல்லை நம்ம எப்படி நினைப்பாங்களோ அது மாதிரி எந்த இடமும் கிடையாது. ரைட் ஃபார் மீ இட் இஸ் ரைட். அதுதான் அந்த ஒரு ஆட்டிடியூட். ஜென்ரலாக என்னன்னா ஒரு சோஷியல் அவேர்னஸ் இருக்கும். எப்பயுமே நம்மளோட கஷ்டப்படுறவங்களை பார்க்கும்போது அந்த ஒரு எண்ணம் இருக்கும். ஸோ ஏதோ ஒன்று நம்ம செய்யணும். யூ கான் பி வெரி நார்மல், யூ கான் பி வெரி செல்ஃப் சென்டர்டாக இருக்க முடியாது. அது மட்டும் ஒரு எண்ணம் தான். பட் எதுவுமே அந்த டைம்லலாம் பெரிய ஒரு தாட் ப்ராசஸ்லாம் ஒன்றுமே கிடையாது. எப்பயுமே ஒரு ஃபீல்டு இருக்கும். சாப்பிடும்போது பக்கத்தில் இருக்கிறவங்க எல்லாரும் சாப்பிட்டாங்களான்னு யோசிச்சு சாப்பிட்ற ஒரு இருக்கும்.
That was your upbringing. That's how you looked at the world. Very nice. Let me ask you one more question before I go to Aparna. அப்போ இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு கான்டெக்ஸ்ட்ல இருக்கும்போது பேங்க் ஜாப், you took up a bank job, right? So என்ன மாதிரி எஜுகேஷன் பண்ணீங்க, எப்படி ஏன் பேங்க் எடுத்தீங்க? You could have gone into any other line, but how did the bank job happen? And அதில் grow ஆன போது you seem to have done very well for your age. Like you must have been 30 when you were doing like in a newspaper article I read, you were earning 12 lakhs per annum. So what was the kind of educational background that you had, and avlo nalla oru climb eppadi vandhu the job growth?
It's not bank job, it is bank mutual fund division. It is sales.
Okay.
I can't do any clerical work. உட்காந்து ஒன்று கூட எழுத முடியாது. ஒரு இடத்துல உட்காரவே முடியாது. அதான் ஒரு தெரிவிச்சேன். அதான் when I was in sales. But நான் பண்ணது I did my MBA in PhD கோயம்புத்தூர். அதில் கூட 153 பேர் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் மொத்தத்தில். அதுலேயே கிராஜுவேஷன்
பண்ணீங்க?
கிராஜுவேஷன் பிகாம் பண்ணேன். SIVT தாம்பரம் பக்கத்தில்.
And you did an MBA.
MBA in
So it
marketing.
was a very predictable path. Graduation particularly, BCom particularly, MBA particularly, so a bank-related, financial services-related job was a normal.
MBA கூட வந்து என்னோட ஃபோர்காஸ்ட்ல நான் வந்து பிளான் பண்ணலாம். MBA வந்து என் ஃப்ரெண்டு படிக்கணும். அவன் சொன்னா எங்க அம்மா கிட்ட MBA சேர்ந்தவங்க MBA BCom சொல்ல முடியாது. அவங்க தான் கஷ்டப்பட்டு போனாங்க சேர்த்து பெரிய ஒரு கட் பண்ணோ பெரிய ஒரு பிளானோ அதெல்லாம் ஒன்றுமே இல்லை. டேக் லைஃப் ஆஸ் இட் கம்ஸ். ஸோ MBA பண்ணோம். அங்கேயும் பெரிய எக்ஸலாம் கிடையாது. சர்வை ஓகே. அதுக்கப்புறம் இந்த வேலைக்கு போகும்போது தான் என்ன இப்போ எப்படின்னா அந்த 30 இயர்ஸ்ல நான் ஒரு ரேஞ்ச் வந்தேன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லும்போது அது இட் இஸ் அபவுட் இன்ட்ராக்டிங் வித் பீப்புள். சரி இன்னைக்கும் நான் என்னோட சேல்ஸை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ஐ நெவர் பீன் நோன் அண்ட் வெரி வெரி இன்ஃபர்மேட்டிவ் வெரி நாலேஜபிள் கை அப்படிலாம் ஐ நோ ஹவு டு ஹேண்டில் பீப்புள். ஐ வாஸ் டு டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷன் பிஸ்னஸ். என்னை வந்து மியூச்சுவல் ஃபண்டை டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷன் மூலமாக வைக்கிறேன். மை கஸ்டமர்ஸ் ஆர் பேங்கர்ஸ் ஆர் நேஷனல் டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட்டர்ஸ் ஆகலாம். ஸோ எனக்கு வந்து ஒருத்தவங்ககிட்ட ப்ராடக்ட் பேசுறதோட ஐ கிரியேட் ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் வித் பீப்புள். ஸோ அதுதான் எனக்கு யூஸ்ஃபுல்லாக. ஓகே என் வாழ்க்கையில் என்னோட நம்பிக்கை என்னோட வாழ்க்கையில் எல்லா க்ரோத்துமே யூ ஷுட் பி அட் த ரைட் டைம் அட் த ரைட் பிளேஸ். அவ்வளோதான். நீங்கள் ஒன்றும் பெருசாக கஷ்டப்பட்டு வேலை செஞ்ச கூட வளர முடியும். அந்த நேரத்தில் அந்த இடத்துல இருக்கணும். ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டிஸை கரெக்டாக பயன்படுத்திட்டு இருக்கணும். அவ்வளோதான். ஓகே ஐ ஹேட் டு கோ பட்
So it was always survival and doing well for yourself in whatever you were given.
அப்படிலாம் பார்த்தாதான் பட் ஸ்டில் சாதாரண ஒரு ஈகோ. யார் எனக்கு என்கிட்ட கொஞ்சம் கெத்தாக சர்வை.
Okay, so two beautiful perspectives emerging there. One is somebody who set out to dance, to show the world that look what I can do. And another looked at life from the point of view of doing whatever was available in the circle of influence, taking that and doing it with the idea of bare minimum survival. So those are two perspectives that are picking up. The stories will get very interesting now as I go on with the questions. Let me ask Aparna my next question, which is, how did you decide in your life when you were 15, 16, 17 and you're both, you're pursuing training and learning an art form, okay? How did you decide that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life? Was it a big aha moment or was it an organic thing that happened?
When I was 15, I wanted to be Britney Spears because I had learned singing and I had started dancing. So I was like, I'm going to be the next Britney Spears. I'm going to be a big pop star. That was in my head. But then it was more an organic decision because as I started performing, I realized that apart from just my love of being on stage, I think it was a love that developed. Because I was such a mover, I was an athlete before I started dancing. I liked the fact that how my energy felt when I was moving on stage, and I realized that that was something that I wanted to share with the world. And something that he said about how it's not just you, it's you in relation to people around you. For me, I wanted to just share that happiness. It was a very similar thought process at that point of time. I decided by 16 that this is what I wanted to do. I was very scared to tell my mom. But she knew how serious I was about it. But it was a process that happened in my first year of dancing. By the time I had reached the end of the first year, I was learning and performing at the same time.
You were at that time with the John Brito.
Yes.
And so you learned from John Brito.
Yes, I learned from him for about a year, and then over the course of the next 11 years, we had a lot of multiple teachers. So my influences were very many. Like we had people from around the world who came in, including the very one of my most favorite classes and workshop sessions for 3 days was with Debbie Allen, who is huge. She choreographed the Oscars for about 11 years and she runs her own institute. She directs Grey's Anatomy.
Okay.
So she's quite a huge dance figure. She was the original thing. So I had multiple influences who showed me a brand new world. But yeah, it was a very organic thing, and also a lot of goals.
But in the first year, you said you had clarity that this is what I wanted.
Yeah, it was very clear.
So when you're I read up that you have a graduate degree from MOP Vaishnav.
Yes.
Where you did BSc in visual communication.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So you did what can be termed as a degree to save your skin. Okay.
Yeah, actually, that was my mom and my sister's doing. They've been huge pillars, and 1 week after my board exams, I broke my right arm. So 2 hours before a show. So essentially my summer holidays after my board exams was time spent in a cast. So I didn't really prep for any kind of college applications. I knew I loved history. I knew I loved English. I really wanted to apply for this drama, film and theatre course in Connecticut, but nobody would give a loan at that point of time for a performing arts course. So my mother tried, and to give her credit, she really tried with me. We went up and down a bunch of bands. Nobody said they would support. They said if it's science or medicine or engineering, we can give you a loan. So I said, okay, you know what, I'll shelve that. That's definitely going to happen at some point in time. And started looking at courses, and my mother and my sister, there was a neighbor who was teaching in the Viscom course at that point of time, and he said he was the
So you went into that course.
Yeah.
But my question really was, with a degree,
Yeah.
wasn't there pressure to take up a 9-to-5 job to earn a living? How come you stayed for 11 years on the path of dance with John Brito? In between, you go to New York and get your Broadway certification. How did you stay the path? How did you stay away from the pressures that society kind of thrusts on people, young people who are just out of college?
I think I'll have to give credit to my mom for that. She didn't put any pressure. She just said, I think you have to be at a point where you're happy with yourself. You're happy doing what you're doing, and you're not breaking any of the moral codes or ethics that I have raised you by. And after a point of time, after you're 17, 18, you have to develop your own moral code. And if you want to break it, you learn a lesson from it, your problem. I'll be there to support you. So my mom's always been hands-off like that. And I think that kind of helped. The fact that she let me make the decision, she let me come to the whatever I needed to come to. And it helped that at that point of time, I may not have been making a lot of money, but I was making some money every month performing. And my experiences were building me into somebody that I was liking. And I think my mother was also liking that. So she said, okay, she supported me.
So it was a beautiful partnership between you and your mom.
And my sister.
And your sister to be who you are. So family played a big role.
Yeah.
That's a very, very important perspective. I think many people struggle with the need for family support. And here's a fascinating story of how the family actually supported IVIS. We're seeing that in his story as well. We'll come to that in a minute. But the most powerful line that you just used is that your mother wanted you to be happy for who you are and allowed you to take your decisions yourself, which is, I think, an amazing thing to do. Many people don't ask young people what will make you happy. We ask people what will get you your next income. How are you going to earn money? If you choose a profession or a line which is off the beaten path, how are you going to make an income? That's the question that gets asked. Not necessarily a question saying, are you happy doing what you're doing?
I'm 35 years old, my mom's never asked me that question. Not
That's
once.
amazing. I wish Chitra was here to
I
celebrate
wish she was
this.
here too.
Yeah, she lives in Thiruvannamalai, but I think Chitra will send you the link and Chitra will see this conversation on her laptop. And this is a great moment as a parent, as a child, to celebrate. So she's never asked you that question, and it's always been about happiness. And
are you happy doing what you're doing?
Fantastic. I have more questions for you, but I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to take a very quick break to come to the quiz questions, okay, which we're going to ask you people, and you can win the fabulous mugs. Are you all ready? And then we'll continue with Rajesh's journey. Rajesh's journey gets very, very exciting as we go along, okay? So let's ask you the questions. The questions are very simple. Anybody can answer, so I'm not even banning anybody from high kicks or from the families over here, which is Aparna's family, or from the high kicks family, or from Rajesh's family here. Anybody can answer. Okay? These are very simple questions. If you apply your mind to what was shared here as we opened today's session. Okay? So my first question is on Aparna. Okay? So those of you who know Aparna and who know high kicks, and those of you in the audience who are pretty cued in on what's happening, then you will be able to answer this. So your hands on the buzzer, people. Fingers on your buzzer. Okay? This is going to be easy if you've been listening in. Connect Aparna Nagesh with Amitabh Bachchan's Hollywood debut. Hollywood debut. Amitabh Bachchan's Hollywood. Yes, The Great Gatsby. Yes. How does it connect?
They perform the Gatsby show?
Yes, absolutely, yes. We don't have half a mug, so I'll give the mug to Apurva, who's making an appearance at Bliss Catchers after almost a year, so thank you so much.
And your first
So that's the beautiful mug that Apurva won, so it stays with the Manichandra family. I call them the first family of the Bliss Catchers.
That's okay. I need baskets. Yeah.
Okay, so let me explain the answer to you. So Amitabh Bachchan played Mayor Wolfsheim in Baz Luhrmann's Great Gatsby. That was his Hollywood debut. I think at the age of 70 he made his Hollywood debut. It was much talked about. And Aparna Nagesh's High Kicks dance company, they produced an adaptation inspired by the film. It was called The Green Light. And I said that in the introductory remarks. So that's why I said if you have been listening in, you will be able to practice. Now we come to another very interesting trivia based question. Anybody can answer. Okay? Connect Rajesh with Priyanka Chopra's debut. Debut film. Priyanka Chopra's debut film. Connect Rajesh with Priyanka Chopra's debut film. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Please come forward. Please come forward. Yes, that's your mark. Absolutely right. Tamilan and Tamilan curries. Are you a Priyanka Chopra fan? Oh yes. So am I. So hi. What's your name? Ram. Thank you, Ram. Thank you.
எல்லாருமே சந்தோஷப்படுவாங்க பிரியாங்கா சோப்ராவை கனெக்ட் பண்ணோம்னா என் வாழ்க்கைக்கு ஒரு அனுபவம் கிடைச்சிருக்கு.
So Tamilan Curries is the name of his enterprise, and Priyanka Chopra very interestingly made her screen debut, a film debut, a career debut in a Tamil film called Tamilan, made in 2002, starring Vijay. It was a very forgettable film. Very, very forgettable film.
It's a balloon film. Balloon film.
Okay, so let's carry on. So those are the two mugs. Two more mugs await you when we come to the segment where we have the guests asking you the questions. Let's continue with the conversation. Rajesh.
Before that, no man, you should get credit for framing a question. Nobody can sing it.
Yeah, nobody will have to. I would have to.
I sit at 3 p.m. with a cup of tea, and which is the mockest question I can ask in better way.
It's all the mocha question, but they're great connectors. Yeah.
So a little bit of watching TV helps, watching films helps, and most of my questions are about films and TV. I marry my interest in you. That's what I do. Okay, so let's continue with Rajesh. Rajesh, my next question to you is, or a bank job, or a financial institution job, paying you a good salary, comfort level, you're married, you have family, all of that. What goes on in a person's mind like you about wanting to leave that job? எந்த மாதிரி questions எழுந்துச்சு அதை நீங்க எப்படி அட்ரஸ் பண்ணீங்க? Was it a long time you took to decide, or did you decide overnight இனிமே முடியாதுப்பா அப்படின்னு? So do you have any insights to share on that?
வேலையை விடுறதுன்றதுக்கு முன்னாடி I started something called Aran Foundation in 2009. ஏன்னா before that blood donation very high. I have database with around 60-70 people who are really they can donate. அது வச்சுக்கிட்டு ஒரு அன்அஃபிஷியலாக ஒரு பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. அட்லீஸ்ட் வாரத்துக்கு ஒரு 2-3 பேர் பிளட் கலெக்ட் பண்ணி கொடுத்துருவோம். அப்படி ஒரு பக்கம் இருந்தது. கவர்மெண்ட் இது ஒரு அன்ஃபார்மலாக இருக்கு, ஒரு ஃபார்முலா பண்ணணும், ரெகுலராக பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னு அரண் ஃபவுண்டேஷன், அரண் அரண் அமைப்பு தடுப்பு சொல்லுவாங்க. அது மாதிரி ஒரு பாதுகாப்பு. அது என்னன்னா ஃபினான்ஷியலி அண்டர்பிரைஸ் மக்களை வந்து 2 ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் வந்து தேர்ந்தெடுத்து அவங்களுக்கு வந்து காலேஜ் படிக்க உதவி பண்ணிருக்கோம். 2009 இப்போ we are ADG certified. வருஷம் ஒரு 30% 40% வரைக்கும் நம்ம ஒழுங்காக
இது
படிக்கலாம்.
நீங்கள் ஜாப்ல இருக்கும்போது
ஜாப்ல இருக்கும்போது அது வந்து ஒரு தொடர்ச்சியாக ஒரு பக்கம் வந்து ஸோ இது ஒரு சைடு ரைட். நாட் அபவுட் ஒன்லி மை கெரியர். இந்த பக்கம் ஒரு பக்கம் நம்மளோட வேலை தான் வேறு பக்கம் ஒரு ட்ராவல் பண்ணிட்டே இருக்கும். அதுக்கப்புறம் தாம்பரம் மக்கள் கூடுன்னு இன்னொரு விஷயம். அது என்னன்னா அது என்ன பண்ணணும்னா ஏரியை க்ளீன் பண்ணுறாங்க. ப்ளஸ் வந்து அவேர்னஸ் பண்ணுறாங்க. பிளாஸ்டிக் யூசேஜ், வேர்ச்சுவல் வாட்டர் பற்றி அது மாதிரி ஒரு பக்கம் மக்களுக்கான விழிப்புணர்வு அது ஒரு பக்கம் பண்ணி. ஸோ இது ரெண்டுமே நம்மளுக்கு இது இருக்கும்போது இது பண்ணும்போது இதெல்லாம் தான் பேக் ஆஃப் த மைண்ட் நம்மளுக்கு போகுது. ஸோ அப்போ என்ன ஆகுதுன்னா நான் என்றைக்குமே வேலை ப்ரெஷராக இருந்ததே கிடையாது. நான் வேலை சீரியஸாக இருந்ததே அப்போதான் ப்ரெஷர் ஆகும். 6 மணிக்கு மேலே வேலை செஞ்சதே கிடையாது. 6 மணிக்கு 9 மணிக்கெலாம் போதும் 6 மணிக்கு வெளியே வந்துருக்கேன். ஏன் யாரும் கேட்க மாட்டாங்க. ஏன்னா சேல்ஸ் வேலை அவ்வளோதான். அது அது டூ மை டார்கெட். இல்லைனா டார்கெட் பண்ணனால என்னால் பண்ணணும் யாராலையும் பண்ண முடியாது அப்படின்ற ஒரு எண்ணம். என்ன விஷயம்னா அது ஸோ கம்ஃபர்டபுள் ஜாப். ஆனால் ப்ரெஷரும் என்ன நான் பாசத்துக்காக தான் சந்தோஷம் தான். என்ன யாரும் திட்ட மாட்டாங்க. அது மாதிரி தான் இருந்தேன். என்னன்னா ஒரு கட்டத்தில் எதுக்கு பண்ணணும் இல்லை நீங்கள் கேட்டீங்களா ஒரு என்னென்ன மனசில் ஓடிச்சு அது என்னன்னா நீங்கள் வெரி ஸ்ட்ராங் அபவுட் வாட் யூ திங்க் அதுக்கு கூட கேள்வியில் மனசில் வராதுன்னு தோணுங்க. என்னன்னா நான் யோசிக்கும் போது அது நிறைய சொல்லலாமா
இன்னும் பரவாயில்ல நீங்கள் சொல்லுங்கள்.
என்னன்னா நிறைய இன்சிடென்ட்ஸ் இருக்குது. எப்படின்னா என்னதான் ஒருத்தர் வந்து க்ளோஸ் ஃப்ரெண்டாக இருக்குது. யூ ஹேவ் யுவர் டீ ஆல் சேம் பர்சன் எல்லாம் பண்ணுறீங்க. ஆனால் வந்து மார்ச் மாதம் கடைசியில் அங்கே ஒரு எதிராளி பார்க்க அப்படியே சில வந்தோடனே உனக்கு எவ்வளோ வந்தது எனக்கு எவ்வளோ வந்தது ஒரு எதிராளியை பார்க்க. இது ஒரு பக்கம். ரெண்டாவது நீங்கள் எப்படி ஒருத்தர் இது பண்ணுறது நான் வந்து பேங்கிங் கூட அதிகம் இன்ட்ராக்ட் பண்ணுறேன். ஒரு பேங்கிங் ஒரு ஆர்எம் கிட்டேயோ இல்லை ஒரு ரீஜனல் மேனேஜர் யார்கிட்ட பேசினாலும் என்ன பண்ணுறாங்கன்னா ஒரு போய் உக்காந்தானே ஒரு செல்ஃபோன் வேலை வைப்பாங்க. ஒரு வாட்ச் உங்களோட காசாவி மேலே பேச போகிறது ஃபினான்ஷியல் பற்றி. எதுக்கு செல்ஃபோன் இது மேலே வைக்கிறாங்கன்னா நான் என்ன செல்ஃபோன் யூஸ் பண்ணுறது வந்து நான் என்ன கார் வச்சுருக்கேன்னு வச்சு என்னோட ஸ்டேட்டஸ் நான் அதான் ஹெல்ப் பண்ணுறேன். உங்கள் பேச்சுக்கு இல்லாத மரியாதை உங்கள் கார்டு நீங்கள் என்ன டெஸ்டினேஷன் இதெல்லாமே நம்மக்கிட்ட அங்கேருந்து திஸ் நாட் த ரைட் பிளேஸ் ஃபார் நீங்கள் யோசிக்க ஆரம்பிக்கும். அவ்வளோதான் என்ன பண்ணுறாங்க எல்லாருமே. அந்த பெண் எழுதி பார்த்தீங்கன்னா கேவலமாக அது 5-2 ரூபா பெண்ணு அவ்வளோ அழகாக இருக்குது. வீட்டுனாலும் வாங்கி அந்த பெண்ணு அது இப்போ பேக்கர்ஸ் வாங்கி வச்சுப்பாங்க. ஈடு போடுறாங்கன்னா உள்ள ட்ராவல் என்ன கதைன்னா அது வந்து மற்றவங்களுக்காக நீ பெண்ணை வந்து நீங்கள் மேலே வச்சுக்கிட்டு அது என்ன அர்த்தம்னா அந்த பெண்ணு வந்து அந்த 2500 ரூபா பொருள் இவ்வளோ பெரிய ஒரு மனுஷனை இதெல்லாம் பண்ணுது. இட் பிகம்ஸ் அ வேஸ்ட் ஆஃப் யூ. அதுதான் வந்து அதெல்லாம் வந்து கேள்வி கேட்கும்போது நம்மளுக்கு வந்து இந்த மொத்த சிஸ்டமே நம்ம கேள்வி உண்டாகிற மாதிரி எனக்கு இல்லாத மரியாதை, நான் பேசுறதுக்கு இல்லாத மரியாதை, நான் யூஸ் பண்ணுற பர்ஃப்யூமுக்கு இருக்க மரியாதை, நான் வச்சுருக்க பெண்ணுக்கு மரியாதை, நான் போட்டுக்க லூயி ஃபிலிப்பா ஆக சொல்லியாமல் மரியாதை எனக்கு இல்லைன்னா அப்புறம் நான் யார்? நான் யாரை ஏமாத்துறேன்? என்னையா இல்லை அவங்களையா? அப்போ வந்து பாடி ப்ரிவிலேஜ் பண்ணுறது நான் தரிச்சா பரவாயில்ல இதுதான் நான் வேற ஸ்மெல்ல ஒரு சயின்ஸே இருக்குது. அது தெரியாமல் நம்ம ஸ்ப்ரே ஆச்சு. அது நான் அது கூட தப்புன்னு சொன்னது என்னோட வியூ. என்ன சொல்கிறேன்னா அது வந்து டிட்டர்மைன் பண்ணுறதே எனக்கு பிடிக்கல. இந்த கூட வேலை செய்கிறவங்கள அவர் வயசுக்கு கொடுக்காத மரியாதை அவருக்கு டெஸ்டினேஷன் கொடுப்பாங்க. இதே வயசில் இருப்பார், அவர் மேனேஜராக இருப்பார், அவருக்கு ஒரு மரியாதை. அதே வயசில் இருப்பார், அவர் செக்யூரிட்டியாக இருப்பார், அவருக்கு மரியாதை. ஸோ எனக்கு அது உடம்படாது. யாராக இருந்தாலும் அவர் செய்கிற செயலுக்கும் அவர் வயசுக்கும் அவர் மரியாதை. ஒன்றில் ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் சொல்லலாமா? டைம் எடுத்துனீங்க
இல்லை. let me ask you a question here. இந்த மாதிரி யோசனைகள் வரும்போது நிறைய பேர் வந்து ஒரு பக்கம் ப்ரெஷரையும் பார்ப்பாங்க இல்லையா? you're earning so much money and you're paying the bills. Every month there is a predictability. கரெக்டாக அந்த 1ஆம் தேதி ஆனால் 5ஆம் தேதி ஆனால் you get the paycheck. So conceptually many people may be thinking, but இந்த முடிவு எடுக்கிறதுக்குள்ள துணிச்சல் எப்படி வந்து அதுக்கு ஃபேமிலி கூட பேசுனீங்களா, ஒய்ஃப் கூட பேசுனீங்களா, இல்லை தனியாக முடிவு எடுத்தீங்களா? நீங்கள்
எந்த முடிவுமே எல்லாருக்கும் பேச எடுப்பேன். எந்த முடிவும் அது மாதிரி.
ஸோ வாட் வாஸ் தி ஃபேமிலி கான்வர்சேஷன் லைக்?
ஃபேமிலி கான்வர்சேஷனை விட என்னோட கமிட்மெண்ட்ஸ் ரொம்ப கம்மி. சம்பாதிக்கிற காலத்தில் கூட அதிகமாக செலவு பண்ணும். நார்மலாக தேவையான செலவாக இருக்கும். லேவிஷாக செலவு பண்ண மாட்டேன். போயிட்டு ஐ ஒன்ட் ஷோ ஆஃப். ஸோ அதெல்லாம் எனக்கு செலவு பெருசாக இல்லை. கமிட்மெண்ட் இல்லை. எல்லாம் வீடு வாங்க சொன்னாங்க. கட்டின ஒரு வீடு போதும், ஒரு வீடு வாங்க. காரை மாற்ற சொன்னாங்க, அதுவும் மாறாங்க. ஸோ அது பிரச்சனை இல்லை. வெளியில் சொல்லும்போது ஒரு பயம் தான் இருக்கும். ஆனால் நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி அப்பா அம்மா எல்லாருமே என்னன்னா மனைவியிலேருந்து எல்லாருமே வந்து ஒரு பயம். எப்படின்னா என்னடா இவ்வளோ சம்பாதிக்கிறேன், அதுவும் என்னோட க்ரோத் பார்த்தாங்க. படத்தில் வர மாதிரி சைக்கிளில் போனால், பைக்கில் போனால், காரில் போனால், அப்படியே ஒரு க்ரோத் அப்படியே கையில் கட்டிட்டு காரில் சொந்தக்காரங்களாம் அவங்க கூட சூப்பர்ப்பா அப்படின்னா அவங்களுக்கு ஒரு மைண்ட் செட் இருக்காங்க எல்லாரும். திடீர்னு அதை உடச்சி பையன் வாடகை போகிறான், இதை வந்து மனசு எப்படி இருப்பாங்க அவங்க வந்து நான் அதாவது நம்ம கனவை நம்ம வந்து ஜீரணிக்கிறது ரொம்ப ஈஸி. ஆனால் முடியாது, ரெகுலராக போட்டு அவ்வளோதான். ஆனால் அவங்க எப்படின்னா அப்படிங்க அவங்க வந்து புதுசாக திடீர்னு நான் ஃபைன் டே நீ சொல்கிறேன் அவங்களுக்கு வந்து ஒரு பயம் இருக்க தான் செய்யுது. ஆனால் அப்பாவுக்கு அம்மாவுக்கு வந்து சுபிக்க மாதிரி மனைவி வரைக்கும் எல்லாருக்கும் ஒரு நம்பிக்கை என்னன்னா இப்போ இதை செஞ்சாலும் கரெக்டாக இருக்கும் அப்படின்னு. அந்த மாதிரி ஓரளவு காப்பாற்றுதுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். இப்போ அந்த டைமில் இப்போ காப்பாற்றுற மாதிரி தெரியல, காப்பாற்றுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஸோ அதனால் அவங்க என்ன பண்ணாங்க, பார்த்துக்கப்பா ஒவ்வொரு வாழ்க்கை ஒவ்வொரு ரிஸ்க்கு அப்படின்னு. அதான் சொல்கிறேன் சின்ன வயசுல
2016 you February you quit.
ஆமாம்
2016 February around that time.
February 4th.
February 4th. That was a moment of liberation.
அது ஒரு மாதம் இருந்தால் போனஸ் வந்துருக்கும்.
But you left that money and came back.
அது என்னன்னா ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு இஷ்யூ மாதிரி ஆஃபீஸில் பேச ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்கேன். நான் சொல்ல ஆரம்பிச்சிருந்தேன். அது ஃபைன் டே முடிவு பண்ணிட்டேன். கமான், திஸ் இஸ் த பாயிண்ட். தள்ளி போட்டால் நீ தள்ளி போயிட்டே இருப்ப. திஸ் இஸ் த லாஸ்ட் டே ஆஃப் ப்ராக்டிஸ். கமான்.
Fantastic, fantastic. So my learning from that part of the conversation I had with him is that when the restlessness grows in you, you have two options. One is you can ignore it, pretending business as usual, which is earning a living, is more important than feeding your soul. Okay, that's the learning I'm picking up. Or you can heed your soul. அது உள் மனசு என்ன சொல்லுது, இங்க என்ன சொல்லுது, அதை நம்ம கேட்க ஆரம்பிப்போமா, அல்லது நம்ம direction of earning a living பார்ப்போமா? I think that is the important point that he took a call to listen to his soul. உள் மனசு என்ன சொல்லுதுங்கிறது he heard it, and of course the family's support in a big way. The other thing came in the end of that conversation again, that if you keep postponing your happiness, you'll find reasons to postpone it more. So the 1 lakh was on the table, but he said, no, I don't want it, I'm walking away. I think that's a very, very important point in your life. Very important point. I don't know, life might have been different if you had stayed back for that 1 lakh, right? We had another Bliss catcher who shared something very similar, Mahesh Venkateshwaran, last year. He was running a $1 billion business for Cognizant, and he decided to quit his job in Cognizant, but his boss said stay 1 more year, and so he stayed 1 more year. And when it came to again quitting, his boss said stay 1 more year, and there was a lot of money put on the table in terms of stock options and all that. And Mahesh took pretty much the call that Rajesh took, which is if I stay 1 more year, then it'll be endless, and life is ebbing away. He was 48, of course. Mahesh belongs to my generation, and Rajesh is much wiser at a younger age. So thank you, Rajesh, for that perspective. Aparna, let's come to you. What led you to set up High Kicks? What's the philosophy behind High Kicks? So you're working for a dance company, or with somebody like John Brito, then you go to New York, you get your certificate of excellence, you come back and you set up High Kicks. What's unique about High Kicks is it's an all-girls dance ensemble. And what is the philosophy that drove you to step out on your own?
Actually, it was less of a philosophy and more of it was time kind of a thing. And it's very funny how there are so many parallels. I mean, it's the first time I'm also speaking to somebody else. It's interesting for me to meet people who've also done similar things in terms of, like, you chose to walk away from so much money.
It's interesting to talk to Bliss catchers.
Yes, it's interesting to talk to Bliss catchers. It was kind of similar at that point when I had already been with the company for 12 years, and it was comfortable. I was making my money every month. It may not have been like a large sum of money, but it was a comfortable sum of money. I was traveling, I was meeting people, but it became far too much like a job, which I didn't want to be. And I realized that I wanted to be doing slightly different things with my dancing. And I realized that I had put exploring that on hold for about the last 5 years. It was the same thing. next year I'll quit, next year I'll quit, next year, one more year.
So you were performing, but you were not creating.
I was not creating, and I think I was deeply unhappy for about 4 years. And surprisingly, again, my sister noticed it, and she said, "You don't look happy dancing anymore." And that sentence really like struck me. And I just put all the money that I had saved, took help from my granddad, and went to study and came back. And it was always at the back of my head that through my 12 years in the company, every year I saw a different batch of girls coming. Because invariably they would be doing it as, yeah, you know, through college, something fun, part-time to do, blah, blah, blah. But what is actually convincing or influencing them to do this and pursue it with a passion? I was not seeing that, especially towards the end of my career. It became too much like a, yeah, you know what, I can join this company, I'll make some money for some time, and then I'll quit and I'll go do a job or whatever. It became like that. So I said, why is there a lack of a platform for young women in the city to be able to look at this as a serious career option, or to look at dance and movement as something that they can explore and really stand up for and tell their parents, hey, you know what, I want to study this, or I want to, you know, do this further. So I started hiking, and in the first year we were a little bit like all over the place. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I had a vague idea, but there was no clarity. It took 1 year of being in existence for me to kind of organically decide, this is something we will do, this is something we will not do. But it was always there in my head that I wanted it to be an all-girls ensemble, because I feel like somewhere there is a specific energy or power that comes from having a lot of women work together on the same thing. And now there are a lot of documentaries about it. This wasn't because now it's such a popular subject. Women make better managers. It's just a proven fact, or rather more empathetic managers or better leaders in terms of certain qualities that they have. And it's always misconstrued that if you put a bunch of women together, young women in a room together, there's going to be a lot of catfighting and nastiness. And I said, you know what, let's prove them wrong. And I tried something, and it seems to be working. We're at a point where, yeah, we're able to be transparent with each other and not have to resort to that kind of nasty infighting or catfighting that one would expect of a large group of young women. And I think it comes from just setting good examples. So I try my best.
So that's the idea behind high kicks.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a few inferences to take, but let me first say, I don't think women just make good managers or good moms or good companions. I think women make things and people better.
Absolutely.
And that's been my learning. So,
I said this morning at a performance in Stella Maris College, and I said the greatest superpower that you can have is being a woman. And I honestly think it's true. It has nothing to do with.
I'm glad you said that. You know, I wouldn't have survived the past decade without the support of my superwoman. I wouldn't have survived the past decade. So that's one point of view personally I had to add. But coming back to your story, I think you're just too blessed to have a mom and a sister who keep showing you a mirror about what it means to be happy, truly happy.
Yep.
And I think the most important takeaway for me there was your sister asking you, you don't seem to be happy dancing anymore. That's a very, very pivotal question. Joseph Campbell, when you are following your bliss, you will be thrust in a zone where people will come to you. And in her case, it happened to be a sister. But people will come to you and point you in the right direction. And all you have to do to invite those people into your life is for you to be in the zone of your bliss. If you stray from the zone, then the people are not available. So I think that's a very, very pivotal question, that moment in your life. But to run a dance theatre group company is one thing. And to start an institute like Madras Dance Art is something else.
Yeah.
One is the rigor of education of any form is demanding.
Yeah.
The other is the rigor of entrepreneurship, because when you set up an institute, it also has to fend for itself, right? So how do you balance as a person your inner urge, your joy, your creativity with the demands and pulls and pressures of entrepreneurship?
Okay, I'm going to be very honest. The first year has not really been about balance. It's been more about catering to the demands of the entrepreneurship because it's the first year. Yes, I have not been able to completely creatively do everything that I want to do, but I did manage to pull off 2 productions, so I'm happy with myself. And I think regularly meeting the company and training with them, that 6 hours every week gives me that outlet, and also the classes that I teach and the schools that we teach in kind of is able to give me the creative outlet that I need to forget about work, you know, the administrative part of it for a few hours every week at least. But yeah, I think one thing that we've successfully managed to do last year was bring in startup funding and business partners who are able to help us see how we can take the business in a great direction without having to compromise on what we do as a company or as an institute, which I would think, for me, I feel like the universe constantly sends blessings when I need it. So today for me, my faith in the universe is unshakable. Like, anything happens, I'll be like, okay, it'll be fine.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think that's the key. The word faith is often associated with an external resource. But if you examine the idea of faith, you and I have been created without asking. We could have been created as a rock, as a tree, as a snake, as a rat, as a dog, as some inanimate object or some worthless species somewhere. You know, I don't think any species is worthless, but in a human system, you know, we are much more evolved to look at it that way. But you have been created human. There is a reason behind it. And that creation, the idea behind creation itself, the intelligence behind creation has made you who you are. That's what makes Rumi say that every person has been created with an idea of a work in that person. You have to feed that desire and go after it. So if you have been created, you will be looked after, you will be provided for, you will be cared for. That's faith. And I'm glad you said that, because in any journey, there are going to be upheavals. If you worked for 50 years in an organization and got a nice watch as a parting gift and a set of stock options and a retirement plan, it's not as if your work is going to be without challenges or your life is going to be without challenges. Whereas if you did what you believed in and what you loved doing, there are going to be challenges there also. But at least you're happy dealing with those challenges. And that's the important point. That's a very important point. Thank you for bringing that up. So let's come to the story back here, Rajesh's story. Rajesh, how did the idea of, the 2 questions I have, I'll ask both Nina to answer for that. How did the idea of starting an enterprise like Tamilan Curries come about? Yeah, and the business and the business typical business environment there are a lot of pressures, scalability public limited company or all over South India expand export now typically the pressures of entrepreneurship are such that if you do anything good, there are many takers and people want to drag you into a larger scheme of things. Other point, won't you compromise on this idea of happiness that you have found for yourself? So how are you balancing this challenge?
business வேலை செய்யறதே ஒரு கோடியான விஷயம். வேலை செய்ய வைக்கிறாங்க நம்மளுக்காக இல்லை, மற்றவங்களுக்காக. ஸோ வேலை செய்யணும்னு அவசியமே கிடையாது, வேலை செய்யாமல் இருக்கலாம். ஆனால் சர்வைவலுக்காக நம்ம வந்து அதோட ஆரம்பிச்சு பண்ண தான் பண்ணுறது. ஐடியா எப்படி வந்ததுன்னா தெர்ஸ் அ நீட். எதுவுமே ஒரு பிஸ்னஸ் நீட் வச்சுதான் அந்த ட்ரூ ஸ்பேஸ் பார்த்தேன். அப்போது அந்த பிஸ்னஸ் ஆரம்பித்தேன். ஓரளவுக்கு தான் போயிட்டு இருக்கு. பட் மற்ற ப்ரெஷர் கண்டிப்பாக இருக்கும். ஏன்னா அதுவும் ஒரு ஃபேமிலி பேக்ரவுண்ட் வந்து பிஸ்னஸில் எதுவுமே இல்லை அப்படிங்கும்போது நம்மளும் நம்ம எல்லாமே ட்ரேடர் நேரம் தான். அது ஒரு பெஞ்ச்மார்க் கூட கிடையாது. இது மாதிரி ஒரு இருக்கிறானா கூட கிடையாது. காப்பி அடிக்க முடியாது. என்னன்னா என்னன்னா நம்மளே பண்ணணும் தோப்போம் முத்தோ சோத்துல ஒரு பக்கம் வழி இல்லையா திருப்பிடுவாங்க. ஸோ இதே மாதிரி தான் அவன் பல விஷயங்கள் ட்ரைவ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கான். இல்லை நீங்கள் அடுத்த செகண்டாக கேட்ட கேள்வி பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அது இப்போ என் மனசை திருப்பி வர ஆரம்பிச்சு. என்னன்னா திருப்பி என்ன பண்ணணுமோ அதே காமெடி வேறு மாதிரி பண்ணுறோமோ. ஸோ சரி அது பண்ணக்கூடாது. அது என்னன்னா திருப்பி இந்த விஷயம் திருப்பி பணம் சார்ந்த ஒரு வாழ்வுக்காக பணம் திருப்பி ஒரு ஈகோ வருது, ஒரு நான் ஜெயிக்கணும், திருப்பி போராட்டம், யாரும் நம்மளை கவனிச்சுட்டு இருக்க மாதிரி அப்படின்னு அது நம்ம யோசிக்க ஆரம்பிக்கும் போது தெரியல இங்கே ஒரு இடத்துல அதுக்கு ஒரு ஸ்டாப் வைக்கணும். ஆனால் மாடு வந்து சொல்ல அது ஒரு மாதிரி பேஷனாக இருக்கு. I mean, passion to the order.
Yeah, in fact, that was my question. How does a dairy fit into your scheme of things? ஒரு பக்கம் ஒரு for profit business பண்றீங்க, இன்னொரு பக்கம் you are raising a dairy farm. அதுவும் for profit ஐடியாவா இல்ல அது nature loving ஐடியாவா, என்ன எப்படி அது வந்து
நேச்சர் loving ஐடியானா நான் மாடை போய் வெடி கொண்டு பார்த்துட்டோம்னா நான் தடவை கொடுத்துருக்கேன். இது எல்லாமே ப்ராஃபிட் தான், காசு தான். ஆனால் எதை இழக்கிற மாதிரி வாட் இஸ் தி காஸ்ட், எதை இழந்து நான் சம்பாதிக்கிறேன். மாடு பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் என்னன்னா அது மாடும் தமிழனும் என்னை வந்து அடுத்த கட்டத்துக்கு கொண்டு போகல. எனக்கு வந்து தேவையான பணம், முதலிய மன நிம்மதி, மன நிறைவு, பீஸ் ஆஃப் மைண்ட், அதுதான் வந்து டார்கெட், அதுதான் வந்து எய்ம். பணம் போதும்
ஃபார் சர்வைவல்,
அதுதான் டார்கெட். இப்போ தமிழ் வந்து அடுத்த கட்டத்துக்கு நம்ம மூவ் பண்ண ஆரம்பிக்கும் போது தான் யோசிக்கிறாங்க. இது அப்படி கிடையாது. தேர்ஸ் நோ வால்யூட்டி. நான் வந்து சேல்ஸ் அதிகமாக போச்சா கம்மியாக போச்சான்னு பார்க்க வேணாம். என்ன காரணமோ அது ரெடி கொடுப்போம். அதுக்கு டிமாண்ட் அந்த ரிலாக்ஸாக போதும் ஆசைப்படுறோம் மனசோட. ஓகே, நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி ஒரு காம்ப்ரமைஸ் ஆகிடக்கூடாதுன்னு ஒரு பயம் இருக்குது. முன்னாடி கேள்வி கேட்டீங்க, தமிழ் வந்து அந்த நீட் பார்த்து ஆரம்பித்தேன். அது ஒரு தேவை இருக்குன்னா நல்ல உணவு கிடைக்கிறது ரொம்ப கஷ்டமாக இருக்குது. ஸோ அது வந்து ஒரு மன நிறைவு இருக்குது, தரமாக கொடுத்து அதே தான் பால் கொடுக்குற பால் தரமாக கொடுக்குறோம் மன நிறைவு.
ஸோ இப்போ இருக்கிற நிலைமையில் நீங்கள் வந்து அந்த ஆண்டர்ப்ரனரியல் what shall I say, attraction, temptation, அதுக்கு சக்கம் பண்ணுவீங்களா நீங்க இல்ல ரெசிஸ்ட் பண்ணிடுவீங்களா?
ரெசிஸ்ட் தான் பண்ணணும். திருப்பி போயிட்டு நான் வந்து ஏஞ்சல் இன்வெஸ்ட்மென்ட் பண்ணலாமா, இவங்க ஈக்விட்டி பண்ணலாமா, அது மாதிரி யோசிக்க ஆரம்பிச்சோம்னா திருப்பி அப்புறம் நோ பாயிண்ட். அது தான் சொல்றேன், வேற கலர்ல பண்ணி பார்க்குறேன். அது அதுக்கும் போக மாட்டேன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். நான் என்னை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் எனக்கு என்ன தேவைன்னு தெளிவாக இருந்தேன், இப்பயும் இருப்பேன் நம்புறேன். திருப்பி ஓடி போய் திருப்பி மந்த்லி சேல்ஸ் ஆச்சு, டார்கெட் ஆச்சு, யார் மேனேஜ் பண்ணலாம் இதுவாச்சா, அது மாதிரி திருப்பி போய் விடுறதுக்கு என்னோட எண்ணம் என்னன்னா ஒரு ஸ்ட்ரக்சர் ரெடி பண்ணணும் வீட்டில். அந்த பால் பிஸ்னஸ் டெய்ரி ஃபார்ம் தானாக வீட்டுக்கு வந்து ஒரு 30,000 40,000 மாதத்துக்கு வர மாதிரி பிளான் பண்ணுறோம்னா அதுக்கப்புறம் நம்ம ஊர் சுற்றுறது, சும்மா இருக்குது, புக்கு படிக்கிறது, இது மாதிரி விஷயங்களை போய் ஃபாலோ பண்ணணும். ஃபேஷன் இப்போ அவங்க பண்ணுறது தான் ஃபேஷன். இது டான்ஸாக இருக்குது, அவங்களும் ஒரு லெவலில் டான்ஸர், காலேஜ் லெவலில் டான்ஸ் வச்சுக்கிட்டேன். அது சூப்பர். இப்போ அது மாதிரி நம்மளுக்கு ஒன்றும் கிடையாது. மாடு வளர்க்குற ஃபேஷன் அப்போலாம் சும்மா அது போய் மாடு வளர்க்குற ஃபேஷன், மாடு சாப்பிடும்போது சாப்பிடும்போது பால் அது நம்மளோட பிஸ்னஸ் ஒரு ஐடியா விச் இஸ் வெரி பீஸ் ஆஃப் மைண்ட் இருக்கு. ப்ரெஷர் கிடையாது, பீப்புள் ஹேண்ட்லிங்கை விட பெட்டராக இருக்காது. அது போய் சொல்லாது, காமிச்சிடும், மறைச்சிடும் வைக்காது, பின்னாடி போய் ஒன்று பண்ணாரு.
I think in his candor, அவருடைய உண்மையில் பல கருத்துக்கள் இருக்கு. What I am picking up is something very simple. Are you living in order to make ends meet, earn more so that you can spend more, or are you living to live a full life? The crux adula dhaan irukku. Tamil curries grow ஆகுது, அதுக்கு growth, அந்த growth pathல நம்ம போனோம்னா தப்பு இல்லை. A lot of capitalists do it. A lot of people, I mean, we wouldn't be having many of the consumer comforts today if it had not been for right thinking capitalists reaching products and services to us. So I'm not against the idea of capitalism for profit, but here is an individual idea, and that's an important question we have to ask ourselves. Are we doing something because we love doing it, or are we captive trying to do something to earn a living? I think he has broken that jinx. He's got the clarity. that in doing the dairy farm and in running Tamilan in a small, circle of influence, he's getting enough to take care of his family, and in the time that he has remaining, he wants to live a full life. That's a very important learning, and I'd like to take that away from him. Thank you. Quick questions to Aparna and to Rajesh before I open the floor for audience to interact and ask questions. Quick question. In these, I have an important question for you, then I'll come to the questions. I just remembered I've not asked you a very important question. In following your bliss, does being single act as an advantage? You've been single and and a single woman, and a matter of great pride that you are doing so many things that you're doing. But is that an advantage? How do you see it, or is my question wrongly placed?
I wouldn't call it an advantage or a disadvantage. According to me, it doesn't even need to be a point of conversation, but I'm glad you brought it up. Because I find that it's not like I'm never going to get married kind of a choice that I made. It was just that I know that I'm a very, very eccentric person, and my mother's the kind of person who's like, please find somebody for yourself, I can't be bothered to do for you. Because I know that you have your, choices and options that you like. Just remember that you need to pick somebody who's really, really stronger than you as a person, because of how strong you are and have always been. And it just hasn't happened. My faith in marriage as an institution, in companionship, is very strong. I'm actually a huge mashpot, I'm a huge romantic. But I also think that it should be for the sake of companionship, or because you really want to be with that person, and not because, you're 35, you should be married and have churned out 2.5 kids by now. That cannot be the reason, according to me. Also because like you said, it's been an obsession almost. My first love and all of my focus has been only on work. I think now I'm at a point where I'm ready to, also explore and maybe spend time doing other things on me. I do meet a lot of people, so it's not like I don't have a full life. I do generally go out. I try to have a more balanced life, but I also think that I like the balance that I have in my life now. Thank you for that, whoever clapped. But yeah, I think that it is hard sometimes, especially in a city like ours. Like I was telling you, it's been hard finding an apartment to stay in. It's hard when you have to deal with people in government halls where you're doing a show, because they won't even look up and respect you as a woman until you've done 2 shows there, for which I have to have a male presence along with me. Those are some things that sometimes irritate me, and the fact that they don't always respect you and talk to you because you're a woman. And it does happen. I know there are a lot of people say, I don't think it happens in this day and age. Not true. It does happen a lot. Even with Madras Dance Arts, on the opening day, we have a caretaker in the building where every other business in the building is an IT firm or an insurance company, which is run by men, and largely men. It's a commercial building. And he actually walked up to me and said, I'd like to meet your parents. So I looked at him and I said, why? No, I just want to tell them that I will take good care of you. I'm like, I don't need you to take care of me. It's a business I've started here. And he did not understand that point. And it so happened that on that day, Amma wasn't there because she couldn't travel. She came about a week later to see the plays. And these are very little things in which you face misogyny every single day. And it's just, it does get hard, but now I've just realized that I just have to railroad over these people and kind of, but it's important, I think, for women, young women especially. This is something I keep telling the girls I work with also, that you need to make sure that you're not opting for marriage or choosing to get hitched or being pressured to get hitched because you know what, you have to do it, it's time, you are at this age, you have to get married. It has to be a choice that you're making, that you know what, I like this person, I can imagine myself, I can visualize myself spending the rest of my life with this person. That is why I'm doing it. And you know what, hey, life is never predictable. You could be wrong, you could be right. Then that's how it goes. I think there's a lot of conditioning here that by 30 you should have finished all of these things. You should have bought a house, you should have bought a car, you should be steeped in debt. You know, I don't think it's that. I think it has to be you find out who you are, what you like, what you want, before you decide to or choose to let another person.
Fantastic. I won't add to that answer. That's a completely original answer and totally supported. Now to the quick questions, to both of them, and then for the audience to ask questions. Your quick question is, when you are immersed in your creative process, you are enjoying yourself, you're so full of life, but then you also have to live in the real world. So how do you deal with worries and insecurities when they come calling? What do you do?
You take a nap. No, honestly, sometimes I find that it really helps. If I'm starting to get really overwhelmed, I'm just like, okay, you know what? Tune out, switch off everything, take a nap. Sometimes that gives me perspective. Music helps. Literally actually tuning out. And one valuable advice that I've gotten in my life is, when you have a problem, always step outside the problem. And I find that helps. Not letting yourself get mired in it, but just like stepping out and saying, okay, it's not happening to me, how would I deal with it? And I find that I've become a fairly good crisis manager, problem solver because of that.
Fantastic. Your answer for the same question.
Before that, ஒரு விஷயம் நான் சொல்ல இப்போ கெரியர் பற்றி பேசுகிறோம்னா இந்த மாதிரி வேலையை விட்டுட்டு வரோம் அப்படின்னா ஒய்ஃபோட பார்த்து சொல்லணும். ஏன்னா நம்ம வந்து ஒரு விஷயம் வந்து அடுத்த 10 வருஷம் என்ன பண்ணுறோம், அடுத்த 20 வருஷம் என்ன பண்ணுறோம், வாழ்க்கையை பற்றி எது ஒரு கனவு அப்பா அம்மா பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் அவன் வாழ்க்கையை அவன் வந்து ஹேண்டில் பண்ணிப்பான்னு அப்படின்னு சொன்னோம். குழந்தைங்க கெரியர்லாம் யோசிக்கும் போது இந்த பிளிஸ் கேச்சர் எல்லாருக்குமே அவங்களோட ஸ்பௌஸ் யார் இருக்காங்களோ அவங்க பெரிய சப்போர்ட் அவருக்கும் அப்படின்னா யாருமே சொல்லுவது அப்படியே ஏன்னா என்ன விஷயம்னா எப்படி பல ப்ரெஷர் இருக்கும் ஆஃபீஸ் போகும்போது. அவங்க ஆஃபீஸில் ப்ரெஷராக இருந்தாலும் அதுக்கு அவங்களுக்கு ஒரு லெஃப்ட் கிடையாது. நான் வேலையை விட்ட பரவாயில்ல, அவங்க வேலைக்கு போனால் கூட அவங்க வேலைக்கு போகிறோம். இதெல்லாம் இருக்கு. வேலையை விட்டு கைத்தட்டல் வாங்கிட்டேன் நான். ஆனால் நிஜமாக கைத்தட்டல்லாம் இவங்களுக்கெல்லாம் போய் சேரணும். அது இல்லைன்னா அது இருக்கதான் செய்யும். அதை பற்றி நம்ம கவலைப்பட அவசியமே கிடையாது. அவங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி தூக்கம் ஒரு பெரிய விஷயம். அப்படி இல்லைன்னா எனக்கு என்னன்னா, we have a team in தாம்பரம். எப்படின்னா தம்பிங்க 2 பேர் இருக்காங்க. அகத்தின்னு ஒன்று வச்சு we are doing lot of social activities. அதில் அங்கே போனாலே நம்மளுக்கு இது மாதிரி பெரிய ப்ரெஷர்லாம் நம்மளுக்கு அக்செப்ட். இல்லை நீங்கள் கவலைப்பட்டு ஒன்றும் ஆக போகிறது இல்லை, கவலைப்பட்டு அது என்ன ஆக போகுது பார்த்து தான் அவனும் ஃபேஸ் பண்ணி தான் ஆகும்.
Sorry, I'm just going to add. I also think that I do this. It may not seem very nice, but if you always think of somebody who has it worse off than you, you know that your problems, you put your problems in perspective. You tend not to worry about it. I mean, what are you going to gain by worrying? Something that you've also said, I think.
Yeah, I totally relate to that.
No point worrying when you can't do anything.
This conflict will always be there, bills versus bliss. This conflict will always be there, and you're not going to have a worry-less life or a problem-free life. You have a choice to be non-worrying, because worries don't solve problems. If worries solve problems, then the whole world would be free of worry, and the whole world would be free of problems. But why do people worry all over the world? Why do people have so many problems? We don't see it as being solved by worrying. So non-worrying is a great state to be. That's something that Vani and I have trained ourselves in. This is what we teach people. We encourage people to pause and reflect. So in both the answers, that's what I picked up. Keep moving. Go do what you love doing. If it's serving somebody, what he talked about. If it's the dance that makes you immerse yourself away from your worldly challenges, go through that process of immersion. That's healing, and that's very important to achieve that state of non-worry. Okay?
பக்கம் வந்துட்டு அப்படியே எல்லாமே ஹாப்பி அப்படிலாம் ஒன்றும் இல்லை. ஸ்ட்ரகிளிங் எல்லாம் அதுவும் சொல்லிக்கிறேன். சந்தோஷம் விஷயம் மட்டும் சொல்கிறது ஸ்ட்ரகிளிங் எல்லாம் ஜஸ்ட்
but it's worth the struggle, because at least you're doing something that's meaningful.
Like you said, we are enjoying the struggle.
Enjoying the struggle.
It's not like everything is hunky-dory and
you're not going to have Follow Your Bliss does not give you a visa to a problem-free, challenge-free life. But the challenge becomes interesting and not debilitating. That's been our learning. You know, we're carrying a mountain of debt on us. You know, our bankruptcies left us with $1 million in debt, 179 people to be repaid, court cases, police complaints and all of that. But we travel with that responsibility, but not with that burden. There's a big difference. We see it as a responsibility and not as a burden, and that comes from being rooted to our bliss. So we have very little time for questions, so keep it very sharp, very tight, and I will stop you after 2 questions, maybe that's the best that we can accommodate, and your answers also have to be very brief because we do need to end on time. Yeah, the first question there and the second question there. Two hands have gone up. Yeah.
It was very interesting to learn about both of you. Actually, in the hard work so, எனக்கு என்ன தெரியணும்னா இப்போ எனக்கு இல்லை இங்கே நிறைய பேருக்கு அந்த டவுட் இருக்கும் உடம்பாலையும் மனசாலையும் கஷ்டப்படுற அனிமல்ஸ் அவங்க பற்றி தெரிஞ்சுக்கலாம் நீங்கள் எவ்வளோ கவுஸ் வச்சுருக்கீங்க அண்ட் ஒரு இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் கொஸ்டின் என்னன்னா எப்படி கவுஸ் ப்ரெக்னென்ட் ஆகுது இஸ் இட் வித் தேர் கன்சர்ன் தட் தே கெட் ப்ரெக்னென்ட் again?
I think this will be a longish answer and it's outside the scope of today's conversation, so offline it will be that.
I'm just being the voice of those who cannot speak.
No, I don't deny you the question, but I have very limited time, so this will be a long answer. I can sense it.
It's always easy to ignore the truth.
Offline, offline. It's not focused on the subject that we're dealing with. The second question, Dr. Chari.
I can answer you.
Yeah.
If you can wait, I can answer you.
Sorry, again Radhishna. Do you make full use of them? Milk tavara, how do you deal with that? Excreta, which is very, very resourceful. Do you make use of that?
Lack of space, madam. Lack of space நால நான் வந்து யூஸ் பண்றது இல்ல. வெளிய வந்து இது வச்சிருக்காங்க, நர்சரி மாதிரி வச்சிருக்காங்கல்ல, அவங்க வந்து சாணி எடுத்துட்டு
போறாங்க. அதே மாதிரி யூரின் is also very, very useful.
பக்கத்துல யாரெல்லாம் கேட்கறாங்களோ புடிச்சு கொடுக்கறது. மத்தபடி கலெக்ட் பண்ணி அது ஒரு வியாபாரமோ பிசினஸோ பண்ணல.
இல்ல வியாபாரம் இல்ல.
So he's saying he can use, they're using it efficiently. Geeta, your question please. That's the last question for the evening, please.
I don't have a question, but I don't think this is making justice, making us ask questions and not answering. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay. That's your call. I am the curator. I'll have to go with my judgment over here. Okay, you're new to the show. This is the first time that you're seeing us, but we manage time over here. So yes.
Truly appreciate your points that you shared with us. Rajesh, உங்க லைஃப்ல மகாத்மா காந்தி சொன்னார், மனுஷனோட நீட்ஸ்க்கு இருக்க கிரீடுக்கு இல்ல, மகாகவி வார்த்தையார் சொன்னார், மனதில் யூனிட்டி வேண்டும். இது ரெண்டுமே உங்களுக்கு இருக்கு. அவங்க ரெண்டு பேரும் என்ன மாதிரி இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க? And what has been the influence of Mukhi Vaishnav in your entrepreneurial journey?
Okay, please keep it very brief. Just a minute each, and then.
புத்தகம் படிக்கிற பழக்கம் உண்டு. எப்பவுமே நிறைய தலைவர்கள் நான் சொன்ன பயோகிராபிஸ் நிறைய படிச்சதுனால தான் எனக்கு பெரிய மாற்றம் புத்தகம் தான். அது வந்து காந்தியாகட்டும், பெரியாராகட்டும், சொன்ன பாரதியார் கவிதைகளாகட்டும், எல்லாமே வந்து ஒரு புத்தகம் நான் ஒரே வழியை சொல்லி நினைக்கிறேன். ஒரு புத்தகம் வந்து ரெண்டு வாழ்க்கை மாதிரி, நம்ம வாழ்க்கை வாழற மாதிரி ஒரு புத்தகம் ஒவ்வொரு வாழ்க்கை, ஒவ்வொரு புத்தகமும் ஒவ்வொரு பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் வியூவும் நம்ம வந்து அழகாக சொல்றதுனால எல்லாரோட இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ் இல்லாமல் ஒரு மனுஷன் இந்த அளவு வர முடியாது. நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி எப்படி காந்தி கிட்ட இருந்து கற்றுக்கிற மாதிரி எல்லா தலைவர்கிட்டும் கற்றுக்கலாம். அவங்க மட்டும் நாம் சுற்றி எல்லார்கிட்டையும் கற்றுக்கலாம்.
No, I don't have the time. We are very clear about our timing. I cannot allow you. I'm very sorry. You can take it offline. Okay. He's here. You can take it offline, but not here.
Okay, you asked me about Mukhi Vaishnav. Granted, I was unhappy that I was not in a college which had a large campus and, or that I was traveling out of the city and staying in a hostel and having a college life. But one thing that I've learned is the college was very, very encouraging. I went for my interview with no certificates, no awards, nothing. I just went on my personality and how I speak. and they were very clear about the fact that you are somebody who knows what you're doing. As long as you have a college spirit or a team spirit, we're happy to take you on. And I remember that was my conversation with the principal then. They do have something called the entrepreneurship cell development, which we took part in, and we had to create a business and do a projected growth and all of that. Even though I studied visual communication, which I'm biased, it's one of the better departments in the college. I had a lot of fun. They had a great department. But it was all the other external stuff that they supported in there. The college is very supportive of if you're doing other things outside as well. And they sent me for a lot of competitions in college. I represented the college in a lot of dance competitions. And I think all of that kind of contributed to how I wanted to be. And my association with the college hasn't stopped. I'm on their external faculty for their club activities for contemporary dance. I went back a few years to choreograph for my department. I keep getting called back as a judge. So the association and relationship hasn't stopped. So I would say, yeah, pretty big influence on our.
Thank you, Aparna. Thank you so much. So on that note, let me bring this program to a close. Please bear with me while I come back with a wrap at the very end, the last 30 seconds. But let me invite Parandaman to give away the most cherished Bliss Catcher trophies to both Aparna and Rajesh. Rajesh, here's your trophy. Thank you for being a Bliss Catcher and thank you for being on the show. And both of you get the mugs also. And both of you get the beautiful mugs that are going to make your morning special. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Parandaman. Thank you for all the arrangements. And for those of you who've been asking why we are so particular about time, this is something that gives me great joy. To start a program on time and end on time. And I can't be doing justice to a Bliss Catcher show if I'm not following my own pace. So please bear with me. Please feel free to stay back and interact with the guests. What I would like to do as a summary today is to lean back on my favorite Rumi again. Jalaluddin Rumi and what he said. Both the stories to me converge in this line of Rumi's. He says, give everything for love. Give everything for love. If you are a true human being, half-heartedness does not reach you to majesty. So anything done half-heartedly will not let you live a full life. Give everything away for love. What you love, for what you love, and do what you love. That's what he says. And I see that in both their stories, Aparna's story and Rajesh's story. And both are real stories where they are going through the journey. In our curation of Bliss Catchers, we are very clear. If Rajesh is showing that he is at a crossroads where he is in doubt, where he is facing problems, Aparna says, I've not achieved the balance yet between entrepreneurship and creativity. What we want you to take away is that is life. This is not a race to reach a particular podium and win a medal. The journey is the reward. And that was reiterated by both of them and their stories today. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, we forgot the quiz segment? Okay. We still have quick quiz. Okay. You should have reminded me when the second question was being asked. I'm so sorry, we forgot. Okay. I've ended the program, but we'll still finish the quiz part of it, because we don't want you to go away without the mugs. So, Aparna, your question, please.
Okay, this is a dance-related question. Whoever puts their hand up first
gets the mug.
Yeah. You're not allowed to answer, Lavi. Okay. Which is the dance style where you're required to put a metal plate on the base of the shoe?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm actually referring to a Western dance form.
Tap dance. Who answered?
Yeah.
Okay, Arvind.
What is the answer?
Tap dance. Tap dance. They are referring to the tamal of the third
I said the bottom of the shoe.
Okay. Thank you. And the next question, the last question.
அவ்வளோ அறிவாளத்தையுமா கேள்வி கேட்க எனக்கு தெரியல. ஒரு ட்ரஸ்ட் வச்சிருக்கேன்னு நான் சொன்னேன், அதுக்கு பேர் நான் இருக்கேன்.
Yes, please come forward. A young man who felt he was denied the question, but we'll give you the mug. But thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, thank you.
I respect your point of view too. Thank you for being here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next month, last Saturday, we have a fantastic Bliss Catcher duo, a dancer who came to Chennai with just 17 rupees, only to learn dance, and has survived the big city, and her name is Jagisini Chatterjee. Her picture is down. As you go down, you'll see the standee there. And a person who gave up a government job as being the administration superintendent in the Tamil Nadu Police Department, Dr. Lalita Santanam, and went on to do her PhD in music. So we have a dancer and a singer next month. Two different generations, fantastic stories. Last Saturday, March 31, 7 p.m. If it's happening at Odyssey. Please be with us next month. Thank you.